Right, we're back live tonight. You're in Focus, and thanks for staying on. Eastern Cape Premier Oscar Mabuyane has highlighted that his administration has built over 100 schools since coming into office during his most recent State of the Province address. But the DA says people in the province have suffered hardship due to 3 decades of mismanagement and corruption. We're joined now by the Eastern Cape Premier candidates, of course, that are going to let us in on the states of the province. That is DA's Andrew Whitfield as well as EFF Zilindile Vena. Good to have you with us, and thank you very much for coming on. You can weigh in on our conversation also tonight on 072-110-5584. Let's begin broadly in the biggest issues that you think that this province could have easily managed, at least in the last 30 years, to advance the conditions of the people living on the ground. Zilindile, let's begin with you.
Thank you very much, Thabo, and greetings to your viewers. I think we must agree that the Eastern Cape is far behind. Nothing has happened in the last 30 years. And even these schools that the so-called Premier is claiming, they are not accessible. The infrastructure, kids have to swim before they reach there. Kids are suffering in terms of how the scholar transport is managed. So there is nothing that is happening proper in the Eastern Cape. Infrastructure has collapsed. You leave education, you go to health, there is disaster there. I think there should be, the president has to declare a state of disaster in the health of the Eastern Cape. There is no health system, even on the hospital maintenance and anything in getting medicine, even in getting doctors. People who are qualified has to go and protest to be employed. There is shortage of doctors, but there is no employment of doctors. So there is total collapse. It's not like we are just bashing for the sake of bashing. Education, roads and transport, health. Worst part is the fact that here in the Eastern Cape, everyone is leaving. People are going to other provinces simply because there is no leadership. And at the center is the same premier. He has been a leader of government. He has been leader of a leading party, governing party, advising government. In the ANC, if you are a secretary, you are in charge of deployment and all that. So he has been part, and he has reached a ceiling. That is why he wanted to leave and go to national politics, but he was rejected by his own comrades that if he can't change the lives of the people of the Eastern Cape who are in the forefront, what contribution will he make in the national politics? So we are saying that the people of the Eastern Cape, that is why we have seen now a great response from them saying enough is enough. We have seen the last rally of the EFF on the 21st of March. People are saying, we're ready to listen to you, EFF, we're ready to give you a chance. So what I'm trying to say is that there is a lot, there is nothing that we can pride ourselves with, even in the technology, even in the sector where of tourism, where we've got a beautiful province which we can tap into that sector and do everything in creating jobs. Even in the coastal line, more than 800 kilometers of a seabelt, nothing is happening in making sure that our people benefit and our people participate in those economies. So what I'm trying to say is that the Eastern Cape is rising up now and trying to take its rightful position in the geopolitics of the country and making sure that it removes the ANC. One thing I can tell you now, people are fed up of the ANC and they are responding positively on us.
Andrew, if we look at the trajectory of the ANC in that province, I mean, since the dawn of democracy, except for in 2009, the support of the party has been going up and pointing in the upward direction, with a 68.7% in the last election of party support. I mean, that would paint a picture in the last 30 years of a party that seemingly is convincing the people of the Eastern Cape to continue to vote for it. Why do you think it's so, Andrew?
Well, I can tell you that in the Eastern Cape, you are more likely to be unemployed and murdered than any other province in South Africa. And when I go to villages in rural areas where we are starting over the last few years to really see blue shoots of growth in the former Transkei area of the province, and I talk to rural villagers in Koboshane and Bolokotlela and Kofimvaba and these areas, they tell me that the time for the ANC to retain this kind of support is long gone. And not only is Premier Oscar Mabuyane responsible for the highest unemployment rate and the highest murder rate in the country as the premier of this province, but he will also be responsible for the lowest return on votes that the ANC has ever had in this province. And so the ANC is working very hard to unseat itself, because people are now, after 30 years, understanding the importance of delivery on the promises that have been made for 30 years. And I'll give you an example of just one promise. And there are many broken promises that litter the broken streets and homes and villages of our province. And that is that the Premier promised to build 52,000 houses. When he became Premier in 2019, he has only built 24,000 houses. That is simply unacceptable. When he became the Premier, unemployment was at 37%. It's now nearly at 42%. And the people of the Eastern Cape, very sadly, because my colleague is correct, this is the province with the most potential, in my opinion, for economic growth and development. He spoke about tourism and other avenues. Manufacturing is completely undercapitalized. Agriculture in rural areas is undercapitalized because the poor road network, where we've budgeted 800 million rand, but we should be budgeting about 3.8 million rand just to stay on top of maintenance. We have a serious crisis in the Eastern Cape. People are flooding the Western Cape from the Eastern Cape. And what's interesting is that the Western Cape's unemployment rate is nearly below 20%, but the Eastern Cape is at 42%. We believe that the Eastern Cape should be competing for residents to move from the Western Cape to our province, not the other way around. We have all the potential. We have all of the people in private sector, in government. We've got a lot of very capable people in our beautiful province who deserve so much better. And we know that our plan to rescue the Eastern Cape is credible, it is costed, it is based on the fundamentals of good governance. And there's no single political party that competes with us on good governance and service delivery. The ANC competes on broken promises. And let me tell you, the people of the Eastern Cape are sick and tired of those broken promises, and Oscar Mabuyane is going to be the face of the greatest loss in votes in the Eastern Cape of the ANC since 1994.
So are you challenging, for example, their record? They're saying in the last, 10 years at least, or maybe more. No, it's not more. It's at least in the last 10 years. They have increased the number of formal dwellings significantly from 48% to 83.6%.
What I'm saying is that they've fallen short, and Oscar Mabuyane, which this debate should be about as the Premier of the Eastern Cape since 2019, or even since 2018, in fact, that Oscar Mabuyane promised to build 52,000 houses. He built 24,000 houses. 24,000 houses is half of what he promised to deliver to the people of the Eastern Cape. This is the same Premier who promised to cut unemployment but has increased unemployment. This is the same Premier that is underfunding roads and scholar transport. Let me tell you, for the first 3 months of this year, thousands and thousands of young children couldn't get to school because they didn't have enough money allocated to scholar transport, because there's too much wastage in this government and too much stealing that goes on in a corruption-riddled government. we cannot continue like this. Our local municipalities returned 2.2 billion rand in grant funding in the last financial year. The Department of Education, the school infrastructure budget, grant funding, 1.2 billion rand returned. That's why young children like Langalam Viki are dying in pit toilets. And just last week or this week in Namdansani, a young 3-year-old drowned in a pit toilet and has sadly succumbed to her injuries. So this is the state of the Eastern Cape. These are the realities that people are living in. And I am convinced that whatever the ANC says they've done, the people of the Eastern Cape know that after 30 years, an entire generation, it is not good enough.
Let's take a break. We'll continue in a moment. TFF and DA Premier candidates, Andrew Whitfield and Zilindile Vena, staying with us. You can weigh in also tonight, 072-110-5584. We're back in a moment. Still in conversation with the DA and EFF in the Eastern Cape province. These are Premier candidates, Andrew Whitfield and Zilindile Vena. Zilindile, I saw you shaking your head when I'm saying the ANC's support in the province remains to be high. I mean, in the 3.4 million voters there, at least 1.5 of them are voting for the ANC.
Let me tell you, I'm a student of history. You said since the last time they dropped, it was 2009. That is the time when COPE was formed. That is the time when the Nkuhlu family and all those people of that time formed a political party, and they were from a government. Now, that is when ANC was shaken. But just check, where are those people now? After COPE collapsed and couldn't get into government, ANC under Oscar Mabuyane dealt with everyone who supported COPE. Everyone, every single one of them. All of them from province to the ground. And from that time till now, everyone has been fearful of speaking against the ANC. We are here led by Rurarians, people who behave like Inkos, and they have a right to give a direction. But it's only now, after the formation of the EFF, and people of the Eastern Cape came later to say, okay, we didn't trust this. Because other politics that were at play, they were tribalist talks to say, we can't be led by small boys from there in Limpopo. And people of the Eastern Cape has been scared. Up until now, after seeing that the EFF has been playing a good role in Nelson Mandela here in the Eastern Cape, the EFF is participating in small municipalities, trying to make change. Now, that is when they took a decision to say, going to these ones, we will hide ourselves. But others said, we are not going to hide, go to where it comes from, in Inokumkijima, where people are revolting against the government. Go to Engor, where people are revolting openly, where is coming from. So what I'm trying to say to you is that 2024 is going to be another game changer. It's going to be, in the Eastern Cape, there will be a change. ANC is going to drop. If they don't go below 50%, I can tell you now, it will be just umangaliso. But what I'm trying to say to you, ANC is no longer enjoying the support. That is why they venture into politics of desperation, even humiliating our king, Buyelekai. And our king has spoken and condemned them and spoken against that kind of desperation. That is why what I'm saying is that even on the ground, they are rejected. So that is why I was shaking my head that let me take you through the real politics on the ground. And I'm telling you now, that is why for the first time, let me tell you, on the 21st of May, EFF for the first time, 21st of March, filled Absa Stadium. And no political party has ever done that. The ANC is going to attempt to do it on the 24th through the state. Ramaphosa Cyril is bringing the state machinery to come and launch what he calls 5 million job opportunities, which to us we know is corruption.
Okay,
it's ANC rally. It's ANC rally, but using the state fund, and will play close on on this matter.
Let's look at this issue that was raised, at least in the last financial year, 2022-2023, and Andrew was talking about the area in the Eastern Cape which ranked in the top 3 highest crime rate, revealed as Lusikisiki in the first position, Tata second position, Nelson Mandela Bay in the third position. Why is it, Andrew, that in that year, even though there were 6 major operations that were conducted, you can name them, Vutuhawe Operations Corner, High Density Provincial Interventions, Majola Intervention, and so on and so forth, that this is still the kind of outcome that the province would have come up with?
Well, it's been well established through the Zondo Commission that the ANC is a criminal syndicate in and of itself. That's number one. Number two, the critical issue here is, besides the issues with the South African Police Service being underfunded and undercapacitated with the right skills in order to deal with the job, we have a culture of impunity amongst violent criminals who no longer fear the South African Police Service, because the entire criminal justice system has been undermined and systematically broken down by the ANC government for a very long period of time. And so while there are critical shortages within SAPs of skills, and there are vehicles that are in the workshop which should be on the road, we have actually a cultural issue which has been established amongst the criminal entrepreneurs of our province, who are kidnapping. They are hijacking cash and transit vehicles. They are kidnapping business people, discouraging investment. And they are doing all of this with little to no consequences for their actions. And so you can throw whatever Becky Cele public relations stunt in these big operations. These are one-off situations, and the criminals know it. They are so deeply embedded in our communities. They have the better technology to commit crime than SAPS does to fight crime. And that is why a core component of our manifesto offer is to capacitate the South African Police Service with the right technology. In the rural areas of the Eastern Cape, you've got Fort Bantam bakkies that are expected to go up into the mountains, Elaleni. It's unacceptable. We should be deploying drones. We should have helicopters in the sky, except in this province, we have one helicopter that's able to fly. So it's no wonder that crime is out of control in the Eastern Cape. It's because crime and fighting crime is not a priority for the African National Congress. If it was a priority, I assure you that we would not have the rate of violent crime. And I would just say about Lusikisiki and the surrounding areas, those are the rape capitals of South Africa. And not just the rape capitals, just that children, women, elderly, men, you name it. It is unbelievable. It is like hell on earth for people who live without protection. There is a place called Katkop on the way to Matatial. In Katkop, a woman was raped. The man was captured by the community, and the police came more than 24 hours later. What do you think is going to happen? The ANC is creating a culture of vigilantism where people are so desperate to create some law and order in their communities that they're taking the law into their own hands. The state has abdicated its responsibility to keep our citizens safe. And President Ramaphosa has presided over the highest incidence of murder of any president. Nearly 110,000 people had been murdered since President Ramaphosa became the president. And he wants to stand up and say, Tuma Mina, and re-elect me as the president of the country. Well, that's not going to happen. And I can tell you, when the ANC falls below 40%, and that's what some of the polling is saying in South Africa, it will drag the Eastern Cape down with it. And Oscar Mabuyane is going to have some serious questions to answer.
So let's look at that province again, and Zilindile, the provincial commissioner there saying that in as much as we can paint this picture of a crime that seemingly is out of control, there has been a turnaround there. There has been some groundwork and some intelligence that has turned a new page. In fact, there is in recent times, for example, 403 firearms that would have been confiscated, 6,000 people that would have been arrested, 18,000 suspects arrested for various crime categories, ranging from contract to second-hand goods related incidents. So a picture of a turnaround, saying there needs to be a redoubling of the efforts, though?
I'm telling you, the provincial commissioner is out of touch with the realities, and she thinks that she can go away with so those things are like in a way that we are not going to notice. For instance, we have called as the legislature that at times we must call the commissioner, because the commissioner is not even answering and held accountable by the provincial legislatures. She's doing her things. For instance, I will tell you about these things. Where is the progress in arresting that massacre to women and children in Lusiki? How are we progressing there? How are we progressing in the daily murder in Nelson Mandela, where people kill each other? Like, people come and kill and nothing happens. And you see it's PR, because they arrest people who have no links to these things. And then they don't tell us that when they are released, that these people are released because of there is no evidence. That's another thing. They always paint a picture that they are doing something. There's absolutely nothing. Our communities are not safe. And now there is hijacking that is happening, which is very serious. And it goes beyond, it goes to a point where people get killed whilst they are hijacked. So what I'm trying to say, there's absolutely nothing that is changing. There is no turnaround that we see on the ground. Instead, criminals are in charge. And it tells us that the people who are there in high positions, they are somehow working with these criminals.
So Zilindile, what is your grand vision that you think will bring about the solution to bring the crime situation under control?
Violence must be met by violence. Criminals must know there is no place for them in society. We must make sure that we create jobs for young people. Once you create jobs for young people, you eliminate. Because the cause here has been that the most celebrated people in our locations are these hoodlums that are participating in criminal activities. And then young boys, they are cultured to those things and they get involved in those things. But if we can create, because through education, young boys are seeing that no one succeeds in our locations. So what you do, you make sure that you avail education for free, and you make sure that you create jobs. EFF commits in the whole country that it will create 9 million jobs. Thirdly, you must make sure that you open a space in the creative industry. Eastern Cape has been producing best people in terms of music, best people in terms of sport. Bafana is led by a goalkeeper from Nelson Mandela. Rugby was recently led by Siakolis. Eastern Cape has been producing quality, but there is no proper coordination and support. Then people end up getting into wrong things, drugs, crime, and then the state even fails to prevent and make sure that they stop that thing. So what I'm trying to say is that through making sure that young people participate in the economy, that is how, and make sure that we are strict on crime. That is how we'll have a safe South Africa.
Meet violence with violence, strict on crime, and support the creative sector. Your own MP, Andrew, says that, yeah, you admit the murder rate is slightly down in this financial, or this first quarter at least, from 1,500 to 1,460 for the quarter. However, there is the highest number of multiple murder cases that we're seeing at about 85. What is your grand idea?
Well, we have no, it's not a secret. We believe that we need to decentralize policing, and we must do that to capable local and provincial authorities. But fundamentally, we also need to complement that with abolishing cadre deployment. You see, when ANC cadres are given positions in the state, in particular in policing, it compromises directly the safety of the people of our province. We don't care what political party a police officer votes for. That's not their job. Their job is to keep us safe. That is what the Constitution says. That is what is required. We want to make sure that we get the best people employed, no matter where they come from or what they look like. They need to be employed to do the job properly. We need to equip them with the skills. We need to make sure that we professionalize the police service, and we need to discipline the corrupt cadres that are in the system, that are creating a culture of criminality within the South African police service, which is extremely serious. That is why less than 30% of the sexual offenders in the Eastern Cape are actually convicted, which means that more than 70% of sexual offences go unconvicted in the Eastern Cape. And that is absolutely horrific. We need to overhaul the criminal justice system and make sure that successful prosecutions are based on quality investigations by the South African Police Service. Detectives are dealing with caseloads in the region of 200 to 300 case dockets per detective. We need to bolster the detectives unit and make sure that they are rewarded for the highly specialized work that they do. More importantly, we must rebuild the morale of the good, hard-working members of the South African Police Service. There are many of them. The biggest problem, Minister Becky Cele is working too hard to politicize the police service instead of to professionalize the police service. I've been on that committee in the National Assembly for the last 5 years. Crime has gone up across every single violent crime category, and Nelson Mandela Bay is now the most violent city in South Africa and the 9th most violent in the world. I have written to the minister on countless occasions, produced solutions, asked for intervention to bolster our anti-gang units in the northern areas, New Brighton, KwaZulu, and in KwaNobuhle, but Dololo, nothing. He's not doing anything to tackle crime. All he is doing is trampling over crime scenes and politicizing a highly respected profession, which people should be called to serve because they want to keep people safe.
The economic outlook in the Eastern Cape is set to be 0.9%, gradually improving to 1.8% for the near term. Agriculture, manufacturing, construction and transport expected to drive that kind of growth. We've got a question on WhatsApp, 072-110-5584. For you, Andrew, here's a question around that particular aspect of things. And the question is really around the plan that you have for job creation. 072-110-5584. Here's the question. Question for the Democratic Alliance. Noting that youth unemployment currently stands at a shocking 44.3% and half of the Eastern Cape are unemployed, what will the Democratic Alliance focus on to create an enabling environment for job creation?
I'll deal with the enabling environments in a second, but what we would also do is that there are far too many unemployed people in the Eastern Cape, unemployed young people, and tragically, many of those are graduates of universities and TVET colleges. We would introduce a job seekers grant so to ensure that while young people are looking for work, that they are able to sustain themselves, able to go and look for opportunities. We would roll out better connectivity so that they can get online to look for work. But we would also introduce a youth employment opportunity certificate where they can nominate, they can choose to be exempted from the onerous labor legislation in South Africa, which we believe is locking unemployed people out of opportunity. So, for example, minimum wage is one thing, and in government, EPWP is another thing. EPWP seems fine for government to pay those minimal wages, and not even minimum sometimes. But minimum wage is restricting the opportunities for many young people who otherwise might get a job, but simply can't because government says they can't. We would ultimately, what we would do, we would overturn our municipalities to become capable delivery machines. They need to be able to deliver water. Water must come out the taps. Electricity must be available, and it must work, and it must be uninterrupted. We need roads that are the arteries of our economy. Those roads need to be resurfaced, maintained. They need to be rebuilt. We need to rebuild dams, massive public infrastructure projects, but most importantly, the enabling infrastructure in our local municipality, which is where the rubber hits the road for our economy and our people in this province. 16 out of nearly 40 municipalities are in financial distress, and half of our district municipalities are under administration. Enoch Ngijima, my colleague mentioned earlier, is a disgrace. You cannot drive more than 10 meters without hitting a pothole. The potholes are connected to potholes, and it would probably be better just to grade them down to gravel. We have a service delivery problem in the Eastern Cape. If we can fix the service delivery problem by bringing good governance and capable people in through a new government, a DA government, we would be able to create enabling environments at a local level by providing that kind of quality service delivery to unlock the opportunities in our economy. Our roads in the Eastern Cape, I mentioned earlier, 800 million rand is budgeted every year when the province knows it needs nearly 4 billion rand just to maintain the roads. That's not even building new roads. That's just maintenance. That is a significant shortfall. And that shortfall exists because they are employing too many cadres in the provincial legislature in Bishu, too many people in defunct state entities and enterprises that are not delivering on their mandate, and they are stealing and wasting the money. It is more expensive to build and maintain a road in the Eastern Cape than anywhere else. How is that possible? Corruption. That's the bottom line.
The biggest Zilindile, area that we're looking at that is creating some kind of growth, finance, as well as community services currently in the Eastern Cape. What is clear is that unless there's a major economic growth, right, you won't be able to create jobs. As much as the EFF could be promising millions and millions of jobs, if you are unable to change the economic trajectory of that province, those jobs are not going to come about. And what's affecting growth at the moment, a number of issues. There are geopolitical issues. There is the energy crisis. There is, of course, a lack of opportunities that create employment. What is your big idea?
No, I think the EFF clarion call and around its own manifesto is the question of land. Here in the Eastern Cape, we've got beautiful land, arable, but we don't take advantage of that. I can tell you now, if you can go to Lusikisiki and taste their own granadilla, you will be blown away. There is sufficient evidence that even if we can optimally utilize the land of the Eastern Cape, we can create more jobs. The children of Lusikisiki last year led the march to say, why don't we use, there's a what was going to be a college there, but for some odd reason, it didn't become a college for agriculture. Because they want to utilize the land. Cannabis there, even those who have license, they can go and farm cannabis, but they don't have financial backing. There's no support. So that is one area, using just land, where you can attract and create more jobs for young people to participate. They are readily available. Others are graduates of Forte. Land, agriculture, but there is no space, there's no placement because of we don't use what is there. Two, I said earlier on, in terms of tourism, there is too much potential. But what is the threat is this thing of load shedding. EFF is clear on its manifesto that it will end. There is short term, there is medium term, there is also long term. Long term is 1 year. And load shedding, not to just this thing that we've been seeing when it's playing rugby, the switch lights are on. When it's playing soccer, lights are off. Now we are going to elections. We are told the load shedding is not there. We're talking about permanent ending of load shedding. And if you fix that, I can tell you now, all these plans that EFF has of reindustrializing, we had factories here. And here in Dimbazi, they were closed. Now, if you are investing in agriculture, you must go and build factories there, so that whatever that comes out there, it is processed there. The locals are processing it, it comes out as a finished good. But before it comes out, there should be serious investment on road infrastructure. Economy follows infrastructure. Once you have the proper infrastructure, you will see people, they want, the economy will grow, and every produced good will go and make sure. And we have 3 ports here, but we are not utilizing them maximally. So what I'm trying to say is that even in Kucha ITZ, where there is a protected space where people can come and invest, we have to do such even here in the region of East London, and make sure that whatever that citrus, we invest more on citrus that we are planting in the Sarabatman district and Old Tambo. We try and push so that people intensify people in these congested areas like PE and also Gabeja and also East London. People, they will now come and work where they are from if you industrialize and take advantage of those things that are there. So the third layer is that of tourism. We have to enter there in a way that will, I can tell you, it can unlock a lot. Even in the fishing industry, if we can enter that space, our people are hungry to enter there with just fishing license rights, and they fish. I'm telling you, even here in Pate, there's an area there that people are participating, but they are treated as criminals because of they are not given support by their own government so that they are properly, they can fish. I can tell you now, our uncles who are fishing, when they come after 21 days, they're in the sea, they come to the location, everyone knew and everyone saw that the fishermen have arrived. It means that there is serious opportunities in the fishing, but it's closed for few white people to operate, and those few cronies who have sold their skin and are closing space for other people to benefit. So there's a lot that we can get in those 3 industries.
Gentlemen, I appreciate your time. Let's give it there for tonight. Thank you very much for coming on. The Premier candidates for the Eastern Cape, Democratic Alliance's Andrew Whitfield and the EFF Zilindile Vena. Right, what's making news when we continue in a moment. Stay with us.